I may or may not have contaminated a food source when I was 10. Allow me to explain.
The unluckiest girl in the world, that's me!
On the second day of summer, after I just finished 4th grade, my little brother Matt and I were playing outside with one of our neighbors. It was our first day of real freedom, and so we celebrated by playing a game which requires almost no brain cells. Tag. To make the game more interesting, and of course, inherently and unintentionally more dangerous, we decided to play running around one of our parked cars in circles in the driveway. So every once in a while someone would yell switch, and then we would have to immediately change directions and start running around the car in the other direction. Like an idiot, I was playing this game while wearing flip-flops. Matt yelled switch, I turned, slipped, and slammed my face into the concrete. The first thing to make contact was my chin. My chin immediately split open, and there was blood everywhere. At this point, I screamed, which brought the game to a very literal screeching halt. My brother ran to go get my parents, and my neighbor stood frozen and probably in shock. My mother came and put a dish towel on my face, and we drove to urgent care that way. On our way there, she started joking that when we got back, it was my job to clean up all the blood off the driveway. Gross. When we got to urgent care, one of the doctors came in and looked at my face. Mind you, at this point, I still have a blood-soaked dish towel just hanging out. And then she went outside to discuss with her colleagues. I knew one thing for sure. I did not want stitches. My parents very sweetly prayed with me in the little waiting room, and we prayed that I would not have to get stitches. The doctor came back and said, "Great news, you don't need stitches. We can just glue your face back together." My mom was thinking, "Thank goodness, my child is going to be so happy she doesn't need to get stitches in her face." And I was thinking, "I don't have to get stitches, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get stitches." But unfortunately for everyone involved, the other shoe was about to drop. Medical adhesive is very tricky to work with. It's quick drying, which is both a blessing and a curse. The doctor had to hold the two sides of my chin together while one of the nurses applied the adhesive. The first time they glued my chin, she didn't get her hand out of the way in time, which adhered her finger to my chin. So she had to rip it off and start over. You can probably imagine how excited I was about that. When my chin was repaired and free of fingers, the doctor told us that the glue would just fall off when it was ready. With the glue on my face, I was not allowed to go in the water or run or climb or do anything that was even remotely risky, which, as you know, pretty much rules out all the components of an awesome summer. When we went on our big family road trip, everyone else got to go and hang out in the pools at all of our awesome hotels. And I got to sit on the side by myself. The end destination of our giant road trip was North Dakota, which seems like a very weird place to be heading to. But the majority of my mom's side of the family, which is also the majority of my family because there's a lot of people on that side of my family, they all live out there. And they're almost all farmers. On these farms, there's a lot of heavy machinery that I learned to operate fairly young. But the activity my brother and I loved most was going out on the ATVs. My dad would take us out on them so we could drive on the bumpy dirt roads in between the fields. One afternoon, my dad took me out on the ATV, and I was having the time of my little child life. But unbeknownst to me, apparently the corner of the glue on my chin had started coming off. Evidently, the corner of my glue had come up without me knowing, and the wind caught under it and tore it right off my face, and it went flying into the wheat field beside us. And I know this isn't a logical fear. I know that this doesn't physically make any sense, but it's been something that's been very concerning to me since that time. I've been worried for 12 years that somehow the glue from my face ended up in somebody's bread or something. So, if 12 years ago you got a loaf of bread that had something that looked disturbingly like a piece of bloody glue in it, I'd like to formally apologize.
When all is going wrong and you're scared as hell, what you gonna do, who you gonna tell? Maybe 100 bad days made 100 good stories. 100 good stories made me interesting at parties. 100 bad days made 100 good stories. 100 good stories made me interesting at parties. Yeah, no,